All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on what is surely a wonderful Monday, May the 20th? Been a great week. Glad to be back here. We're going to be watching episode 11 this week of Survivors. Hope that everyone's doing well. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm confused. We're watching episode 11 of Survivors?
Episode 11 of Babylon 5, which is named Survivors.
Josh is saying I'm muted. Now, I
Okay,
don't know if that's actually true or not, but
he's fibbing. And I know he's fibbing because I already, like, the first thing I did was I glanced over at my audio meter and saw that you were not muted. So nice try, Josh. Uh, just because it happened like one week last week doesn't mean it happens every week. But I am so glad you're here, Josh. Ifly, FSX, Josh Street, Professor Brainspecs was here in the chat hanging out before we got started. Melphasis Guy, glad you are here. Who else was here? Omnicast, glad that you were able to make it this week. LDG, always fun to have you around. I gotta. Oh, you're talking back with. I was gonna say, I got to enjoy you hanging out over on I think it was Cinnabon's stream. And that was a fun conversation around, what it really means to be a free net and his Prometheus platform he's working on, or Prometheus app. It was an interesting conversation about peer to peer streaming, which if you're ever looking for an interesting conversation, go listen to LDG talk about his peer to peer Prometheus platform. Prometheus, right?
that is the name, yes.
Yeah, he's put a lot of thought into it, and it's very interesting to hear him describe it. Tokyo Gaijin's here, along with Mr. Lundell. Glad that you're in the chat. And Texas Analshuk. How are you doing? I know I'm not saying that right, but
Endless
same.
Shock. You were close.
Endless shock.
Endless Shock.
Mr. Lundell, you've heard the LDG speech a lot. It's an interesting
I believe
speech.
he
I'll
has.
give it to him. Hey, Gorillas, how you doing today? He'll be here to harass me tonight. Excellent.
Now,
I love it.
now, John DeMarco, I don't know if you caught it. He put something in the chat this morning. He said, "Good tea, nice house."
Oh, I missed that. Well, I saw it. I didn't see it just now, but I did see it a couple hours ago.
And you know what that's
Which
from, right?
it is from the Star Trek episode where there's one survivor, I do believe.
Yes. And the episode is called The Survivors.
Because
Good
we
call
don't
out, John.
we don't go for complicated names in sci-fi, which I appreciate. I don't do well with complicated names.
Oh, I don't know. TOS has had some interesting titles, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, they're always somehow relevant to the episode. Like let that be your last
Usually.
battlefield.
Usually, yeah. Now, Discovery, on the other hand, it goes out in way left field, and I don't know where it comes up with its titles.
Yeah, I heard y'all. I don't think it was the episode name, but it was some quote from the episode you were talking about today. A yum yum, which I am blissfully ignorant about.
Yeah, that's from the end of season 2.
Blissfully
And
ignorant.
I wish I was ignorant as you are on that.
Oh, it was the best choice. One of the best choices I've made in terms of what I watch. Not watching Discovery and Strange New Worlds. Man, I
Um,
do not regret that for a minute.
Mr. Lundell says DS9 had interesting titles, mostly in Latin.
True. I'm trying to think of one of them. I want to say there was an ex post facto episode, and I can see it in my head, but I can't say it. It was something about some legal term. I want to say.
Oh, I'm sure there was plenty with legal terms in it.
So,
But ex post facto, I think, was a Voyager episode.
oh, okay, maybe so. Maybe so. Humorously, I was kind of on my back foot this evening. I'm sitting downstairs with Amy. We had just sent off the kids to bed, and I'm like, like I've been waking up a little earlier. I might go to bed early tonight. Nothing going on. And then my brain just sits there, like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? I'm like, what? What? And it's like, it's Monday. I'm like, yeah, no, it's oh. It's like, yeah, oh. My brain is so sassy against me.
Well, I'm glad you remembered, or we'd be
I,
sitting here. Where's Matthew? Why aren't we streaming?
I remember
Where's
just in
Babylon
time,
5?
thankfully.
I
Like, it's
think
one
Thomas
thing if
has
I'm
forgotten.
out, but I mean, just to miss it. I mean, that's just me being.
You'd never hear the end of it, I'm sure.
Oh, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. Oh yeah, Ifly. I am not going to be watching any of New Who. I mean, the very
I
fact that they are saying that this is series one of Doctor Who, just, I mean, it tells you everything you need to know.
I haven't watched since the last Tenet episode in November, or was that early December? I've not seen the Christmas episode. I've not seen any of the new episodes that came out this month.
Yeah, it's not great. I
I
I
just don't have the interest.
I tried to give the
I'm a
first
huge
episode a
fan.
go, or the Christmas special. I tried to give that a go, and apparently, one of the first things he does is he makes an allusion to a sex act,
I saw a clip. Yeah.
and I didn't know what that act was. Like I went completely over my head until everyone's like, "No, this is a specific thing, and it's specifically something that relates to the character who plays the Doctor, and not the Doctor himself. Like, this is 100% something that he brought in just to advertise his chocolateness and his and that's something that's a phrase he uses in interviews.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that too. No,
Um,
it's just gone way out
yeah.
field, just like Discovery.
So I'm glad that I'm not wasting time with that. And yeah, Mr. Lindell, Jodie Whittaker, you know, I wasn't a fan of her simply because of the direction they went with her. I think she as an actress could have been fine. Like, I think it was silly to make the Doctor anything except a British guy, because that's who the Doctor is. He's a British guy, and to change that, I think, was silly. But I think at the very least, Jodie Whittaker had the acting ability to do something decent with it, but she got shackled with such horrible
Bad,
writing.
bad writing. Yeah.
And Retro was saying he stopped watching Who after Capaldi left. I actually didn't watch the last season of Capaldi until much later, or I think it was the last season, the one with Bill.
Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I thought
Bill,
Bill was
Missy,
going to be exactly what
Arnell.
we have now, but she was fantastic.
She was good. The only thing is they kept having to say that she was lesbian every episode.
See, I thought they only did that the
I
one
like girls, she
episode.
says.
Well, I think they did that the first episode, and they brought it back toward the end. But I definitely remember it wasn't the constant hammering I thought it was going to be.
Oh, it was like in almost every episode she mentioned it.
Huh. Man, maybe I just had Stockholm syndrome, and I was so desperate for any.
Maybe.
My bar was so low at that point. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Kind of like with Strange New Worlds, our bar was so low that there's been a lot of people who are like, this is an amazing show because it's better than STD.
Now, Omni thinks it's groundbreaking.
Yeah, no. Like, if you step back and you go, oh, wait, so Spock's dad was just a cheating jerk? No, this isn't amazing. Like, this is such... I'm sorry. I think SNW is such hot garbage.
You don't have to convince me of that.
Oh, I see. You're being a little tongue in cheek there. It's a groundbreaking series, Critic Choice Awards nominee, much in the same vein as Threshold is an Emmy Award winning episode of Voyager.
Omni wouldn't do that. No.
And Mr. Lindell is saying that's how he saw Picard season three. I agree, man. I'm in the minority on this one, and I respect those who disagree on me on season three. But I have issues with it. Like, I don't have issues necessarily with anyone who's on it. Like, it's just for me when you stop to think about the plot, it only makes sense if everyone has at the beginning of the season what they know by the end of the season. But if they don't know what they knew at the end of the season, there's no reason for them to act the way they do at the beginning of the season. And so it really breaks down for me.
Fair enough.
Um,
I had major issues with it too, but it was a major improvement on seasons 1 and 2, I thought.
oh yeah, like especially season two. Season two was
Oh
their
yeah, that was the low bar.
their,
Easy.
their TDS season. That was just embarrassing. Yeah, Mikey's saying that he's proud to own all 13 Star Trek movies.
I only know of 10 myself, but
I guess are you counting the reboot, the Kelvin verse?
oh, the, they had, yeah, they had, didn't they? A reboot, yeah, something. I don't know.
Yeah. It was one where Star Trek was the engine room of the Enterprise was a brewery.
Oh, I recall something about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough of that. Enough of that.
Yeah. And apparently Star Wars also has 13 films officially. I'll trust you on that. I watched the 9 main series
Nine
movies.
plus the animated the Clone
Solo,
Wars Solo and Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
Hmm.
And there's 2 Clone Wars?
No, just one.
What's our missing one? Solo, Rogue One,
The Clone Wars.
the Clone Wars, and
That's 3 plus the main 9.
well,
That's
it gets
12.
to 12. What are we
That
missing?
gets 12.
We're missing
Uh,
one, right?
three prequels, 3 original, 3 sequels. That's 9.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars is 10. Solo's 11. Rogue One's 12.
Oh, Retro's saying the holiday specials and the Ewok films.
Well, they weren't theatrical releases.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's one of those
And I
things
think
like the Bible has the 10 commandments, but it depends on how you count specific parts of it, whether it's 10 or 8 or 9. Like some people combine 2 into 1. Like the Hebrews that originally combined it into 1 apparently. And so they call it
oh,
the 8 commands.
that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure if they originally did it or if I'm assuming they did because I know that modern Hebrews do. Or modern people of the Jewish faith. Jewish faith? Hebrew faith? They're Hebrews of the Jewish faith. There we go. Or I guess they're Israelites. Man, it's complicated. I don't
We're getting deep here, I
we
think.
we are. I'm over here, struggling with American geography, trying to take on biblical history and modern Israeli nomenclature. I don't know, man. I don't know at
Judaism, says
all.
Mr. Lundell.
We'll go
And
with that.
I think Omni is trying to steer us towards Babylon 5.
Yes. Let's talk Babylon 5. Thank you, everyone, for rescuing me from this rabbit squirrel twirl that I am lost on. And on me, yes, it is a wonderful DS9 mug. I forget the people I got it from, but I like it a lot. Like you, I really got to remember to write this down if I'm going to keep drinking from it. Uh, but on Amazon, it's not available. Like they have a blue color one, but you can order it straight from the manufacturer and get the purple. And they can't call it DS9 purple, but they call it something like deep space purple. Something where they're really skirting. Like, you know what we mean. I know what you mean. Like, let's just move along here.
Move along home.
Yeah, which I think is a much maligned episode of DS9.
I tend to agree with you on that.
See, I don't know if I just enjoy a
Or into
little
the
camp.
purple.
Like, everyone clapping for Chekhov as he jumps. Like, there's a little camp I enjoy in my Star Trek. Or if it was just like I was young enough at when that episode came out where a little silliness appealed to my younger nature. I don't know, but I like Move Along Home.
Yeah, I do too. It's not the greatest episode, but it wasn't as bad as it's made out to be.
Yeah, yeah. But not Deep Space Nine, not San Antonio 9, Babylon 5.
Babylon 5.
So
The
last
year
week
2258.
was Believers, and it was an interesting episode for 90% of the time. We talked about how great it was, really sparking debate. It was just that last scene. I kind of feel like they underdid their stuff. Uh, and then this week, and I made a prediction at the end of it that the point of Survivors was, in my mind, one of two things. That we're going to be looking at human survivors from the attack by Dolores' people, whose name obviously eludes me.
Delenn.
Yeah, Dolores. Her people, the
the
Narn?
people.
No,
No, the Minbari.
Numbari. There we go. Thank you. Uh, so I think that one possibility, or these are survivors who were on the front line when Numbari came through, were ready to wipe out Earth, and then just said, "Oh, never mind. We changed our minds all of a sudden," and that this is going to be a group of people who probably had good intentions when they first formed. They were a support group, and someone's come in and they are preying on the insecurities they felt after this devastating loss and driving them toward the anti-alien movement that we've been seeing in this season. So that's one of my guesses. My other guess, and this is kind of where I'm landing. Like, I think that would certainly fit narratively with what they've done with season one, but I think this is more going to be focused toward survivors of some other issue. Like, last week we kind of looked at the survivors of, or not last week, it was 2 weeks ago with Deathwalker. We looked at the survivors of the Deathwalker. And you had the unaffiliated worlds who, they got a vote, all of them together. And we saw how they were affected by what this woman did. So I could see this being kind of that situation too, where you have this war-torn planet, or maybe it's just one settlement, and you have these people coming aboard the station, and that's going to create some tension between just like things are getting kind of cramped, or just, hey, here we have this group of people who are actively being at war with, say, the Narn. And we're going to see how that kind of dynamic works together. That's where I'm kind of going thought wise with this episode.
I believe you made another prediction as well, that it could be people stuck in a room and there was a vote and someone would get voted
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, that was my initial one, and that was shot down. I thought we'd all be stuck in a room having to do physical challenges, and whoever didn't get the challenge done would be voted off out of the room, and the last one standing would get to ascend or something. But no, I got that. I was voted off the island for that one. I was the weakest link.
Oh, Texas is voting me out for some reason.
Oh.
I vote the professor out, he says. What did I do, Texas?
And Mr. Lindell, I go into every episode completely blind. So technically speaking, I could watch like a preview for the next week, or I could I could watch I could read like the TV guide entry, but and that would still be authentic to watching this live back in the 1993 and being like, oh wow, here we are at the hour of scurrying and hour scampering, and and it's Babylon 5 time. But I've decided to go in completely blind for each of these. So let's find out how absolutely correct I am this week. The way this works, everyone, if you're new here, you've stumbled upon this late at night, and you're going, what the heck is this? And why can't I watch the full episode? Well, you can't watch the full episode because I don't have the rights to stream a full episode. What we do is during the stream and during the stream only, you can come join me in the watch room, which I have pinned as a link. And while the stream is going, this lets us all watch it and syncs up our watch time together. After this stream, we provide some clips below with no sound, so you can just have a reference for what we're talking about, presuming I haven't gotten lost on the latest rabbit trail. In which case, you're going to need to have your own copy to watch, and that means buy it on Amazon to stream, stream for free on Tubi, buy it on Apple Store or Google Play Store, or the absolute best option, in my opinion, just go buy the Blu-rays. You'll have them forever. You don't have to worry about, Amazon doesn't have the rights to license it or stream it anymore. And all of a sudden, what you paid for, they don't care. It's gone. You always have it, as long as you haven't broken the physical media. So that would 100% be my recommendation. Keep an eye out on Amazon. They routinely sell these for around $75 for the entire series, which
Currently $74.99 on Amazon.
Ooh. So that's what I'm saying. Like every couple weeks, it goes on sale for about $75, and that is what, 5 seasons, Jeff?
5 seasons, 110 episodes plus the original pilot. Well, the remastered pilot.
So, I mean, look, ditch the streaming services, guys. You want something, go buy the physical stuff. Or, and I do not recommend this, but I know there are people out there who do it, you can always ride the high seas. But we're not going to do that. For here, hopefully you've come joined in the stream if you're, or in the watch party room if you are here right now. If you're not, we'll give you a quick 3 count so you can hit that play button and we'll all be synced up together. So 3, 2, 1, hit the play button, everyone. And as always, let me know if I've messed things up and you can hear my my audio, which I'm pretty sure you can't. Okay, so I do remember that the president they're talking about right now, and one of the first, I want to say the first episode, not the pilot, but the first real episode. One of the plot points was this president was being elected, and they were kind of dissatisfied with who we got, as I recall.
I wouldn't say that. Some were happy, some probably weren't. Or some were indifferent.
So this train they're on, the rail, with the people who are absolutely not just paintings behind them. At the DFW airport, they have this exact same thing, and it goes the whole loop. 'Cause I don't. If you ever get a chance to be at the DFW airport, it's intense. Like it takes probably 10, 15 minutes to ride that rail the entire loop around the all the terminals.
Josh Street, I believe so. I believe you're correct on that.
Ooh. Explosions. I remember seeing it behind the scenes on Star Trek that the crews had to practice explosions and being thrown around together to get the illusion that the set was shaking.
I'm sure they did it for this show too. Probably not as much, but
yeah, seeing Sinclair like suddenly stumble made me think of that. Togi is saying that it's probably more reliable than the JFK air train. Oh, it's a very reliable system. It's just DFW is one of those major international airport hubs, and so I think it has five different terminal areas, like complete dedicated buildings. And the only way to get from terminal A to B to C to D to E is to get on this tram and go all the way around. Otherwise, you have to leave the security checkpoint, get on a bus, drive to the next building, and then go back through TSA checkpoints. And yeah, it's easy to get around. It's just really big and it takes a minute. It's definitely not the airport you want to be at if your plane's running late and your next stop is quite on time.
Hmm. Luckily, I never had any trouble at DFW.
I mean, the most trouble I have is your usual stuff like delays.
Yeah.
So we got the name of the episode already, but I don't think this is Survivor that they're going to be talking about. The guy who was blown out of the shuttle bay.
No?
Tokyo, when I say no, you say survivors. No, survivors. And Garibaldi is saying that it seems like it was an accident. That's his guess. He's not ruling out sabotage because he never rules out sabotage. But it seems like it was probably an accident considering how much work is going on in that area.
So they have
And
a
yet,
visitor.
yeah, Texas, a lot of DFW airport is American Airlines. If
Somebody
you,
from Garibaldi's past.
well, Liana seems extremely happy to see Michael.
Somehow I didn't get that impression.
Oh, she may have said Michael, but I mean, you gotta listen to the subtext. That was a word spoken full of emotion.
Well, look at the expression on her face.
I mean, okay, in all seriousness, she is doing this rather dryly, which I'm not sure if they're trying to show that she's an extremely serious individual who's very professional at her job, or if she's just someone devoid of emotion.
Well, I bet we'll find out.
Yeah. No, not an expression on her face. It was in the heart, Ifley. Jakar is so annoyed. Have you seen the proposed seating chart?
Sounds like an ambassador.
And he's worried about whoever he's sitting next to. Have you ever seen them eat? Ooh.
Well,
He
Garibaldi seems upset.
he's definitely letting this interaction get the best of him. Excuse me. I need to make sure that my chief of security doesn't beat someone up. Tokyo, it's a Nausicaan. So Sinclair was wanting to know what's going on between he and I think it was
Liana.
Liana. And Mike says, "Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just personal." And so Sinclair says, "Well, I need to know if this is going to interfere with your operations of the station." And Sin- Michael swears it's not, but it clearly is. And he's saying that one of his previous postings was horrendous. You know, half the people are on the take, and the other half didn't care. And he's one of the few people who did care, and just couldn't keep the peace. Had no support.
Yeah, he was posted at Europa. It seems like the Earth outposts seem to have a lot of corruption. Remember Takashima in the
That's
in the
right.
pilot episode, Mars. She was stationed there, and there was a lot of corruption there.
I was wondering if they were kind of repurposing that aspect of her character into Mike's character.
That could be.
But I think it also makes sense just to have, you know, corruption, especially when, you're an outpost, there's no one around. Who's really gonna report you? Who's gonna believe the reports?
Spoilers, Josh.
I haven't read it. We're good. And so at the beginning of this conversation, he does order water straight up. And here we get confirmation that after what just happened, he had crawled back into the bottle, and so he's quite specifically choosing to avoid alcohol because the father of this girl uh, was attacked because the people knew they couldn't get to, or the best way to hurt Mike was to attack the people he was close to.
And yeah, Omni, that was a great scene. Very good acting there. Good music as well.
And Liana, she's putting the patient's life at risk just to get some info. The security officer knows not who to not mess with. Sinclair says, "Hey, you get out of my way, or I'll shove you out of the nearest airlock." And the guy, he's like, "This isn't a bluff. I'll get out of his way." And honestly, he's probably like, "We've accomplished what we needed to. I've stalled them long enough." It was Garibaldi, he says. Garibaldi planted the bomb. Exactly, LDG. Dum dum dum. It was Jerry Baldy.
Sure, Paulie. And LDG does kind of have a point here. This is kind of similar to A Man Alone from DS9.
Was it?
Yeah, where Odo was accused of killing somebody
Hmm.
early
Okay.
early in season 1.
And Garibaldi is saying this guy had it out for him, which I mean, okay, fine. So he busted him, but at the same time, I don't think it's reasonable to assume that that a man's going to use his dying breath to to get petty revenge. I mean, maybe, but so these are essentially the Secret Service for the president.
Yep.
Okay. And she's pulling rank. She's saying that when it comes to president's safety, she gets ultimate authority, and she wants Garibaldi confined. And yep, he's saying, "I'm gonna need your badge, son."
Omni, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
I mean, okay, LDG, yeah, he gets stripped for this post just like Odo did, but if you have a constable or a security officer and you want to do an episode focusing on him, it's a pretty common trope to have him give up his badge and have him framed for something. At least we know why she's so wooden against him. She blames him. He says, you know, your dad was like a brother to me when he died, and she says, well, because you were protecting yourself. And he says no. And she said, you know, I might have believed you if you told me back then, but you just got drunk and ran. Which, yeah, I mean, there's some long-lasting consequences. And she wants to know when do they start paying Earth Force security chiefs and Centauri ducats. And a great question. You know, if I was guilty, why would I leave the evidence? So not only does he have the blueprints for the place, it clearly looks like he's been paid off by the Centauri government. So he's gonna pull a Harrison Ford. He's gonna make a run for it. Okay, so uh, sorry. Sometimes it's so good I just enjoy listening. So
I love that line.
yeah, you are going to resist. I hope. So Sinclair, he's had enough. He's given her a lot of leeway and all this stuff, and he's saying, we're done. You know, I've given you all that you're going to get. First of all, they put out um, a fugitive alert for Garibaldi, and he canceled it. Nope, we're not doing that. And then she tried to claim, well, I have presidential authority, and he basically said, well, you can take your jurisdiction and put it where the sun don't shine.
They're really starting to get Ivanova involved in developing her character. I don't know if you caught it. She asked for the communications to go down for maintenance for three.
Yeah,
And it would be down for 3 hours. It would delay Liana calling EarthGov.
and I like that Michael has gone to Londo of all people. Like they laid down their friendship earlier in the season. Maybe friendship is too strong a word, but mutual respect, camaraderie, and so I like that they're following up on that by having that be the person that Garibaldi trusts enough to go to. And yes, 90s fashion in the distant future. So Liana, she she's demanding that that they open up communications to Earth, and Ivanova goes, "Well, I'm not part of Earth Force One. I don't have to take any demands from you, but I will take requests. And so he goes, fine, I request you open communications. He goes, no, request denied.
Like I said, they're developing her character.
But I mean, they're not stupid. Like they recognize that his friends are protecting him at this moment, and the only other friends he has is Londo over here, the Centauri.
And one way it's strange he goes to Londo because of the Centauri ducats.
True, true.
And what happens here? So he gets more Centauri ducats.
And Londo's saying there's a reason. He's saying we're alike.
Tokyo.
And Londo's saying we're the odd man out, both of us. But I've been in your place. He said, it would give me some small pleasure that to know that things can work out. Now go, please.
I love how he talks.
If they catch you, I'll deny ever seeing you.
Except one problem. There's a lot of people around them to see them together. That was a good scene for the two of them, Texas. I agree.
I like how they're really setting Londo up to be kind of this softy. Like he's definitely going to do things that are the best for him politically, but at the same time he has this softy side to him, like with the Romeo and Juliet plot line, and now with Londo.
With Garibaldi.
Yeah. So Jakar was 100% like, I knew you were coming. It's like we all watch one another.
Watch one another.
And he said, I assume Malari, besmirched me, basically. He said, but I didn't. Jakar says, you're welcome to check the accounts of what's passed between us and the Narns, or Centauri. And, Londo, or Garibaldi, so I'll just take your word for it.
I don't think he has the time to go through those records anyway.
And so what if I just spirited you away to Narn space? And Garibaldi, well, why? You go, well, you can help us in any number of ways.
This is the second time we've seen Jakar ask a human to work for the Narn.
The first time being the telepath lady, or psychic.
No, telepath.
Telepath. Psychor. Not Psychor. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a member of Psychor. It was Lita Alexander from the pilot.
I like that interaction. I mean, I like a lot these one-on-one interactions we're getting with the characters. And
We're
just
starting to
how,
see a lot of great writing between characters.
yeah, and just
You're,
how consistently they're acting from episode to episode.
yeah,
You know, Londo, he's ready to say nice things. Like last episode with no, it's, again, 2 episodes again with the Deathwalker. He's willing to say nice things. Oh, we're so sorry for what happened, but he's not going to do anything about it. Uh, Jakar, he'll say we're ready to help, but we're going to be very much on the winning side of this transaction. And if we're not on the winning side, then we're not going to help. Oh, it's the praying mantis guy again.
yep.
The Zindi.
That's Cindy.
But Jakar points out that really twisting the screws trying to get what he wants, that Garibaldi has made a lot of enemies on the station, and that now that he's no longer chief of security, he's going to find that Babylon 5 is not a safe place for him. And yeah, they're not willing to help him, and no sooner does he leave the Zindi's quarters than he bumps into Earth Force One again.
Earth Force One?
Wasn't that them?
It wasn't Earth Force One. That's a spaceship.
Oh. What do they
That's
call the Secret
president's
Service people?
uh, presidential security,
Okay.
something like that. That's probably station security after him.
Bradley's
Yeah,
saying that lighting a set before LEDs came out had to be horrible. Too many light actors cooked. The ones you can put up have to be perfectly placed, and the sets are never lit enough. Oh yeah, lighting is very difficult. Oh, and it's the Narsican again. Nausicaan. But I mean, it's got to be a little therapeutic.
Sorry, Josh.
Garibaldi getting to just wail on this guy. Less therapeutic to get hit with a chain in response.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel good. Garibaldi played dumb job. A couple Drazi have entered the fight.
And Garibaldi's not one to back down. He's all right. Let's do this, and he did it. It's been done. He definitely lost. Thankfully, he had a friend to come to his aid. I could have taken them.
It looked like it, didn't it, Omni? They just repelled in.
And he wanted to take Garibaldi to the med lab, but until he clears his name, he just can't do it. Kind of the, oh, what's his name? Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford scene.
Oh, the fugitive?
Yeah. He can't go in. He has to find who framed him. So while the captain is distracted from Ivanova saying that he had a gold priority line from Earth, which I guess they got the communications set back up? That or gold priority trumps even the maintenance that was being done.
Yeah, they must have had the communications back up by then. That's Earth Force One there.
Okay.
Think of Air Force One.
And one of the things I have liked is I noticed that they are very consistent about making sure that departing jump gates are that red color. And so you always know which way the traffic is coming.
That's a good catch.
And so Sinclair is giving a nice dressing down right now to this lady, calling her out for her personal vendetta, or not, or her personal prejudice against Garibaldi, and saying that if she wasn't so jaded against him, she would be searching more thoroughly and finding the evidence that supported his claims. But because she is so jaded against him, she's already presupposed he did it and is missing clues to find out the real issue, and that's going to put the president at danger. Happy Days bar. Okay, do you think that was a reference to the TV show Happy Days?
It probably was.
Because I
It's
get what
kind of
they're
got that
doing.
light look.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a double entendre there. With in one hand, it's the Happy Days. Okay, this is kind of a stoner place because you're always in a daze, or a boozer place, one of the two. But I kind of can't help but feel like they're definitely nodding to the Happy Days TV show.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
so, so he sits down next to some guy, and when he sees the security forces, steals the guy's hat and pacifies him by giving him some quick cash.
Funny how a simple hat can change your appearance.
It's like, oh, you don't want the hat? Fine, take the bottle. I'm going to the casino.
Yeah, I mean, that hideous shirt doesn't give him away. The hat gives him complete camouflage. Uh-oh.
Oh, don't do it, Garibaldi.
Oh, no, Garibaldi, no.
I mean, that's got to be so hard. There's this. Oh, there's a saying in the, a series of books I like. A guy who went through kind of the same progress of Garibaldi, who um, used to be a drunkard, got his life together, and gave it up. And he always would make the comment that uh, two drinks wouldn't be enough, but one drink would be too much.
Looks like his hat friend gave him away.
He's making a lot of friends at the bar, even if that guy couldn't take it even anymore.
No, Jerry Doyle was actually an alcoholic. He was kind of flamboyant about it. He was kind of proud of it, in fact, but
Hmm.
it led partially to his death.
Hmm.
He died in 2016.
He's a happy drunk, apparently.
You have a point, John. You have a point.
He's saying, "Yeah, a real great place here. Should be on all the maps."
I don't remember Odo drinking either. Uh-oh.
I was kind of hoping that he was putting on an act, but yeah, he's drunk.
Yeah.
See, that's the guy I don't trust right there. He found the cash and the plans a little too quickly.
But he has such a trusting face, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he has the classic I'm totally not an undercover secret service agent haircut even. She's like, you never changed, do you, Michael? And he's like, well, I thought I had until you showed up. BGM background music?
Oh, I didn't think it was bad.
I enjoy the 90s synth. So at least Sinclair is still doing his job.
Yeah.
He, he said he ordered me to go search the that one guy's quarters, and he's like, and look, it's a remote detonator.
Now, this
He's like,
guy
hey,
Welsh, played by David Crowley, he was in TNG, seventh season episode Phantasms.
was he really
Yes.
the main bad guy
He
there?
played it. No, he was a background worker character on the holodeck.
Okay.
Or not on holodeck, in Data's Dream.
Oh no, I meant the main bad guy character in this episode.
No. The guy that was just reporting about what was found in the other guy's quarters.
Okay. See, he wasn't listed on the IMDb or guest star list. I guess because he had
This is
such a
first.
bit part.
Yeah, he was in a few episodes in seasons 1 and 2. This is his first episode.
And Garibaldi, he says, look, until we figure this out. And she's right. He's still a suspect. He really shouldn't be involved in this. It's just she should also be doing a much better job than she's doing right now.
She's out for blood.
And so he's putting it together. He's saying, yes, no one was there except for the people you just mentioned and Cutter. And he said, come on, you're the head of presidential security. Shouldn't you make a personal inspection? I also like how we see Earth Force One has a spinning section on their ship.
Well, that's how they make their gravity. So
Yeah.
that's a good question, Mr. Landau. Why did it take so long to search the bomber's quarters? Now, it's interesting that she brings Garibaldi with her.
I mean, he really tipped his hand there. I guess it was. I don't know. I guess it would have been obvious if she'd gone to look in. What is it? The bay or is it an airlock right there?
It's the fighter bay. They're about
Like
to
you'd think
launch the
there'd be
new
some places.
fighters.
You'd think there'd be some places you could hide some explosives in there. Oh, but there's an audio countdown, so that's why he couldn't let her go in. Which, I mean, rookie mistake. You never do an audio countdown for a self destruct sequence or bomb. I mean, not unless you have a bunch of Klingons boarding your ship and you really want to rub it in their faces.
Cutting a little close there.
Oh, it wasn't the bomb doing the countdown. It was time
They were
until
gonna,
opening the doors.
yeah, they were gonna launch the fighters.
Says, how are you feeling? So I'm feeling like I just made love to a meteor shower. And yeah, it makes sense that in the Babylon 5 universe, they don't have, or it seems they don't have force shields that can hold back space atmosphere to let ships come in. So you would need an audible countdown to make sure that no one's being dumb and still in there. And Sinclair's, or not, excuse me, Garibaldi is upset. He's like, hey, I'm screwed up again. I do the same thing I do every time. Things got hard, and I climbed right into the bottle. Sinclair's saying there's not going to be a next time. But if there is a next time, just promise me one thing. Like, don't try to battle this alone. Which is a great message. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so many people struggle because there's this crazy idea we have that we have to overcome whatever we're doing solo.
Mr.
Like,
Lundell, this is just the beginning.
you saying there's no way this is better than DS9? I'm not sure if I would, like, this seems like an apples and orange comparison. Like,
They are different. There are similarities, but there are differences, a lot of differences.
I'm sorry, what was the position she the president did?
It, so he's doubling down on his pro-alien policy, wanting commerce and understanding between different races.
Okay, good. And then the newscaster mentioned that that's a decision that's sure to upset many people.
Yeah, in the Senate. And the video skipped for me about five
Yeah, I was
seconds or
momentarily
so.
disconnected. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if I would say Babylon 5 is so much more immersive than DS9. I would say that they
Oh,
took two different approaches for their storytelling, and that they've
I
they've
would.
both excelled in the way they told their stories.
I'll just put it this way: wait until you see the whole series, then make up your mind. And if you think differently, that's fine.
I get that. It's just like on this side, on Babylon 5, they have done. They say the president's very fond of B5. Uh, So they've done a great job of setting up the rules for their universe, letting you know their rules, and then being consistent to that. And they're doing a great job of setting up the characters and having the characters be consistent to who they are, who they've established. And that's a nice moment. We
And
see she's forgiven her Uncle Mike.
to a large extent, I think they hold to that through the whole series.
I know a long time ago, I think we talked about this on a virtual pub, about how the characters we're often introduced to in the first season of Star Trek are not the character they are throughout the rest of the seasons. And it's not just like, oh hey, this character grew, because that's understandable. Jadzia, who she was at the beginning of Deep Space Nine, is so not who she was at the end of her run, because there were several key moments where she grew as a person. That's completely understandable. But like, there's a lot of times where you have someone who they introduce it, and they're like, you know what, we change our minds. This isn't who we want the character to be in Star Trek. I mean,
Well,
in almost any sci-fi series.
yeah, I think that's true to a large extent. Babylon 5, though, it was all laid out before one episode was even filmed. Now, there were some changes that happened because there were some casting changes that had to take place. But all the characters that were written at the start, their ending points were already known by the writer, by the creator of the show, before one episode had been filmed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you get that consistency that sometimes you don't in other series.
Right. So I'm assuming that's where it becomes so immersive, that they have that consistency and they're really able to build it out because they have that central story in mind that goes the length of the series.
Yeah.
Whereas Star Trek was extremely episodic through most of its run. Like really until Deep Space Nine, I don't know, season 4-ish? Season 5 maybe?
Oh, yeah, and even then it was largely episodic. I mean, you
Yeah.
didn't get this episode after episode that ran together until like season 7. You had
Right?
some earlier than that. You had little mini arcs here or there, but B5, once it gets rocking in season 2 or so, it's like one large story.
Right.
And it
So
kind of already is, but at this point it is largely episodic, like DS9 was. But it once it gets kicking, boy, it's just one wild ride.
I guess it's episodic. Like I guess since we've been watching in order,
Yeah,
I
Ifley
can
says
see
it's
how they're.
set up,
I can see how
and
we're
he's
talking
right.
back and forth. We're still in the setup. Like even so, it's episodic, but there's a string of continuity that ties everything together. And so
And that's
I feel
because the
like I'd
story
be out
was
of
written.
place.
The story was already written.
Yeah. So I feel like
Its endpoint was already known.
if I watch this episode and episode for episode 2, could it work? Sure. But I feel like I'd miss out on so much of who each of these characters were at that by this point. Like I really need to see the other 9 episodes between episode 1 and 11
Yeah,
to really get the impact that they're going for in this episode.
I
Whereas,
agree with you.
whereas Star Trek
Right.
was immersive because they built the universe up. So it wasn't that we really got super involved in what's going on with this character. And we cared about them. I cared a lot about each of the characters because I really liked them. And we certainly got to know their personalities over the course of the seasons. But like the entire universe is just here's this big universe and things happen in the universe. And so the universe itself became immersive, whereas here in Babylon 5, I feel like specifically right now at least, it's the people that I'm being so immersed in, that I'm getting to know who they are, their backstory, and specifically Babylon 5 is kind of the universe at this point. And
Yeah, to a large extent it is. I agree with you.
and so like at this point, because Babylon 5 is that universe, we're really getting a lot more fleshed out about how things operate here locally. And so, like, I'm feeling immediately more immersed at Babylon 5 because of how deeply we're going into this specific location. And that's something you really couldn't do in Star Trek. Like,
But
or at least not until
with that
Deep Space.
9,
Yeah.
well, this is a lot of setup, and we're pretty much only seeing the station right now. Sometimes we see a little bit here or there of other places, like Rakesh 3 in the first episode of season 1. But as we go along, and I don't think I'm revealing too much by saying this, we will start to see other places other than Babylon 5. So I think the universe does get a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger, in fact, than just the station
Mm-hmm.
as we go along.
LDG is saying that Babylon, or no, that was someone else. If it wasn't for Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine would most likely be doing something completely different. Um, like, I guess technically, because so much, at least at the beginning of Deep Space Nine, was heavily influenced by what we know that they had, or what the executives had of the Babylon 5 Bible. And I think that definitely tinged what we see at the beginning of Deep Space Nine. But it definitely, like, Babylon 5 could not have been Star Trek. They have two
No,
completely separate mindsets.
right.
I wouldn't even
For
go so
one
far as to
thing,
say that Deep Space Nine is the Babylon 5 flavored version of Star Trek. I think they took some heavy inspiration, even, but at its core, it's still a Star Trek show.
yeah. For one thing, Earth is pretty much a paradise in DS9. Where here on Babylon 5, Earth seems pretty corrupt.
Yeah. I mean,
And you got the
maybe the
Home
government
Guard.
is doing
You've got,
okay, but all the places we
well,
hear about
is
are
it?
maybe
Well, I don't know. I mean, you got the Home Guard that seems to be infiltrating the government right now. We had the warning
true.
from Jason Ironheart
Psychor
that
once.
the Psi Corps is starting to pull the strings on the government. So, yeah, Earth doesn't seem to be in a good spot right now.
That's true, and every colony seems to be rampant with corruption.
Yeah, I mean, I have to watch my back.
How much Earth do you see in DS9? Very little, Mr. Lindell says. Well, I mean, I guess we know
That's
about
true.
Earth because it's in the larger Trek universe, and they're consistent across each of the Star Treks up until New Trek,
Pretty much.
obviously. But I mean, eventually you do see the Earth when the Dominion War kicks up, and Cisco's freaking out about who is and isn't a changeling, and you get that awesome scene where his dad dresses him down for being obsessed. Like he's so worked up he can't
Mm.
even trust that his own dad is his dad.
Yeah, the blood screen and all that.
And it's great because that's really the whole point of what they were trying to do. They didn't have to infiltrate anyone. They gave the impression they were going to, and everyone got so worked up about who is and who isn't that they could let things completely crumble before they actually had to get involved doing anything.
John says, "There's no test a smart man can't find his way around," and that's very true. That's a quote from those episodes on DS9.
Yeah. I think that was
Um,
actually
goes,
may have been said by the dad. He said, if
yeah,
I was a smart man,
Cisco's father,
I'd keep a vial of
home front.
blood. Yeah, he'd keep a vial of blood inside him, and
Yes, Omni, very true. Admiral Cartwright, played by the same actor that played Admiral Cartwright.
And hey, Wes, how you doing today? Yeah, Mr. Lindell saying that that was Cisco following orders. His dad was justified in not submitting to that test. Yeah, his dad was a civilian. He didn't need to submit himself.
Well,
And
they wanted to submit all the families of Starfleet officers to blood screening.
and Cisco was following orders, but he's also the one who came up with the standards in the first place. So it was really
Didn't
orders that he
didn't
was heavily
Cisco
involved
say
in.
he signed that order? Thought he
I think
said that.
so.
Yeah.
Well, this episode, not one that got you thinking deeply, but a very fun episode nonetheless. Kind of
Yeah,
giving us a break from the deep thoughts.
well, it makes you think about EarthGov again because of Home Guard. It seems like they've got their fingers uh, playing behind the scenes.
I mean, like 2 weeks ago we
They,
had
they,
Deathwalkers, and man, is it justifiable to use research if the research was gained by torture? And then we had Believers, in which is it justifiable if parents have authority over the children if that's going to put the child at risk? And today was just a fun action, who done it.
but was it in an assassination attempt on the president? Not only that, but all the people on Babylon 5, Sinclair said it would have taken out half the station if those bombs had gone off.
Yeah, I think I kind of got the feeling that that would have been incidental casualties, and that the
Well,
president
true.
was the real target.
But I think also that Home Guard is against Babylon 5 for what it stands for. And it would be a
Hmm.
message saying, don't do this again. Don't try to work with the aliens.
Kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that last scene, I don't know if you noticed, the one where Liana was going up the ladder into the ship
Mm-hmm.
to leave. That scene was almost completely CGI. The only thing that was really there was Liana and Garibaldi and the ladder. The rest
Oh,
was all CGI.
yeah,
That's the first
I
time
didn't notice
they did
that.
that. That's the first time they did that on the show, where almost everything was CGI in a scene, other than space scenes.
Hmm. Wes is saying that he's never really watched Babylon 5. It's worth the watch. It is a good
It de-
series.
Definitely it is, and it gets better. Josh Street says Home Guard is a human first government like Terra Prime and Cerberus.
Yeah,
Cerberus?
and Mr. Lindell is comparing Earthguard to the Triple K people. I mean, pretty much from what we've seen so far.
Ifley says, spoiler, Kemmer was CGI.
So Mr. Lindell, maybe you've seen this more than I have, but rather than being the Triple K people, I kind of get the feeling they're more like 1930s Germany. That they are people
Uh,
who they lost a war, were saddled with rebuilding, and they're thrust into a situation where everywhere they turn, they're being told that they're inferior, that everyone is superior to they are, and then you have this people come up and say, you know what? No, you're actually super super superior. You're the best people there are, and we would be a great and powerful nation if it weren't for all these foreigners, these aliens who were keeping us down. Like that's why I get the feeling that Earthguard is from just the couple episodes I've seen so far. That they're really taking advantage of the wounded pride of individuals and promising them greatness if only we could get rid of the invaders on Earth and stand on our own 2 feet. A Tokyo Gaijin Triple K, more like Special K. No, no, I try not to push my luck too much with the things we talk about on these streams. Like I honestly can't stand that there's any subject that is taboo on YouTube. Like I definitely believe that
Hmm.
the more the more reprehensible a subject is, when that subject is openly talked about in the light and people can see it for how reprehensible it is, I think that is the best disinfectant in a society. But when it becomes, ooh, if you talk about this, we're going to shadow ban you. We're going to throttle you. All of a sudden, you're giving ammunition to the very people you're trying to dissuade. Like, well, look around.
Yeah.
The man's trying to keep you down. If they weren't so scared of what we're telling you, why would they be throttling it? Like it's
You have a point.
but I do try not to push my luck all the same. Like I definitely there's certain things that I hear other people say. Well, they self. What was one I heard today? Um, he self-aside himself, and that's how he described it. He self-aside. Like no, just say suicide. Like I get saying that might have me be like, well, that stream's done. We're not going to recommend this out. But I don't care. I feel like subjects like that are so massively important to mental health. Like you got to talk openly about that. And if that gets you throttled, so be it. Yeah, a dude was unalived. No, he got killed. Exactly. And it's so dumb because whoever's
Hmm.
doing the algorithm, like they watch YouTube too. They know what unalived is. They know what self-aside is, and they're just making people use what was the 1984 word for it? Newspeak, I think.
Newspeak. Yeah.
So you can't say the real stuff. You have to use the newspeak.
Our society's getting that way, isn't it?
It really is. But even still, there's some things. The Triple K people, I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about them directly.
I don't blame you.
It's bad enough everyone knows that Code of Honor was my favorite season one TNG episode. I Oh, for the one of it not being the Klingon episode I thought it was in season one. It's all right. I'll live it down
Now,
someday.
was it Heart of Glory that you were thinking of, or
Was Hard Glory the one where the three Klingons came aboard and one of
yeah,
them ended up dying and they all did the
yeah,
Klingon death? Yes,
that's it.
that was the episode I was trying to think of.
Okay, okay. Because
That's not the episode I said.
there was a season 2 episode with Klingons as well called A Matter of Honor.
No, 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 no. It was definitely the Heart of Glory was the one I was thinking
Okay,
of. But instead, I'm like, okay, Klingons, yeah, Code of Honor, that's it. Yes, Code of Honor. It wasn't.
doubtful. Josh Street. He wants to know if I think you'll get anything right in the next episode.
Oh goodness, no. I definitely got nothing right in this episode. So survivors seem to be talking about Garibaldi and his niece and how they
Yes.
both dealt with surviving the death of her dad,
Yeah.
which I do like. I'm glad he mentioned this because I do like the fact that that was really the central plot for this episode. How they both were dealing with that and how it affected them for everything else that happened in this episode. The attempted presidential assassination, uh, the turning a blind eye toward any other evidence that might exonerate Garibaldi. The fact that he tried to do everything on his own and eventually ended up right back in the gutter. Everything, all the action that happened was all surrounding this idea of how the two of them had reacted to survivors' guilt, basically. So I thought that was real neat. But it was not at
Uh,
all anything I guessed.
No, it wasn't.
So next week is signs importance.
No, no. We
Portents.
talked. We
Oh no,
talked
no.
about this earlier.
Yes, I'm sorry. By any means necessary.
By any means necessary. Yes.
Sorry, I had it highlighted, and I assumed that was the video we'd just gotten done watching. So I was looking automatically looked down one. Sorry. By any means necessary. Episode 12.
Now, before you say anything, I do want to mention that on some viewing lists, those two episodes get switched. And that's why you and I talked earlier in the day. By any means necessary, aired next in the airing order. It's also the next one on the DVDs and Blu-rays. But on some streaming services, it gets switched with the following episode, which is Signs and Portents.
Right.
So the
So
next one should be by any means necessary.
yes, that's what we're gonna do. Um, man, there. Okay, there are so many ways I could see this going. So I could see this being kind of an episode that looks at the ambassadors. It's and any one of them could fit because all of them have this idea of we're going to be looking out for ourselves, and there's lines you don't cross, but it could be presenting the situation of what if you said that was a line you wouldn't cross, and you came up and you're confronted with a situation where you were literally forced to cross that line, which we kind of already saw with Born to the Purple, where Londo was willing to give it all away for the girl he loved, and but he was tied to duty. Um, Jakar, I mean, he's willing to cross any line as long as it's beneficial to the Narns. It's been
Pretty
a while
much.
since we've seen Dolores. So I could see it. You know what? I'm gonna stick with that train of thought there. So the last time we saw Delenn, we were presented with the fact that Sinclair cannot be allowed to remember this gap in his memory. And
There's a hole in your mind.
yeah, he said he cannot remember. And we started to see that he started to remember it. He's starting to put the pieces together. Um, so I could see it being kind of following that train of thought. She hasn't been in the past 3 episodes now, as I think. Yeah, yeah. Episode 8 was the last time we saw her.
I think she was in last week's briefly when she was talking to the two parents. They went to her for help
Oh, did
as they
they?
went to all the ambassadors, and she turned them down just like all the other ambassadors did.
Okay, I thought that
But
was her Taché, but you're undoubtedly right on that.
a couple weeks ago, Lanier stepped in for her as she was away, but last week I think she directly talked to the parents.
Okay, okay. I am
Yeah,
mistaken then.
they're saying in the chat that she was in last week's.
Oh, okay. I'm admonished. I'm duly admonished. I'm sorry.
Now she didn't have a big role. I admit to that, but she was in last week's.
Yeah, I thought it was her attaché. I was thinking wrong. Um, Still, I could see it coming back where she's having to follow along with this plot line of keeping him from remembering it by any means necessary. So I could see that definitely being the plot line they go down. Um, Other than that, I mean, there's just an infinite number of things I could do with the idea of by any means necessary. We could follow up with the Earth First movement. and that they're going to keep Earth pure by any means necessary. And so we got like a threat against the station. We could have Sinclair, and he's trying to keep the station together because the unaligned worlds are fed up with something that happened, and he needs to make this work by any means necessary. We could find out that the Earth government is being corrupt, and the president that we thought was so kumbaya for Babylon 5 and for the Gathering of the Nations is actually really horrible, and he's willing to go to any steps he has to take to achieve his political victory. So I mean, oh my goodness, there are so many different things you could do with a title like that. But I'm going to stick to my real guess here of we're going to be looking at, let's say, Delenn, one of the ambassadors. I think that's going to be focusing around them specifically and having to make sure things turn out well for their own people by any means necessary.
Okay.
Yep.
Good guess.
There we go.
We'll see if you're right. Now, I do have one more comment about this episode that we just watched. Why don't we ever see President Santiago? We've never seen him.
Oh, that's right.
Are we going to see him? At some point? Or is he just going to be somebody that we hear about?
I think it's a little more fun to not show his face.
Okay.
Yeah, he's busy. That's right, Ifly.
He's busy.
And Tokyo is saying, I think in my mockings of YouTube's outrageous censorship, I may have inadvertently gotten this stream shadow banned. I didn't even say anything off the cuff. YouTube hates me. I apologize. No, I don't think so.
I do see the stream listed on YouTube, so I don't think you got shadow banned or anything.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
And John is curious, where in the world is President Santiago?
Texas is saying we saw him as an image on the news, and that was the series producer's Douglas Netter.
Yeah, but I want to see him a little bit more than that. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that the real guy Douglas, if he wasn't part of the Actors Guild. And I know if you're not part of the Actors Guild, you're not allowed to say anything on air.
That's true.
It's created some funny cameos in another show I like from Canada called Corner Gas. And so they'd have this special, like some guy won a raffle and was allowed to be an extra on the show. And so he was a trucker who just like had to nod or like shake his head no because he wasn't part of the Screen Actors Guild. So he wasn't allowed to speak. But he was allowed to be there. Just for like this one little brief moment, because if he was there too much, you'd be in trouble again. So I could see that if we ever do get to see the president for realsies, I could see it being a new person because he'd have to be approved.
Okay.
You can't act and not be part of the Screen Actors Guild.
We'll see if that holds up. Now, Ifly says, you have no idea about the tsunami of spoilers everyone is holding back.
Oh, I'm
including
sure.
myself.
I'm
including
sure.
myself.
I actually recently watched this guy watched the two-parter Who Shot Mr. Burns, the Simpsons episode.
Mm-hmm.
He had never seen it before, had no idea going into it who had done it. And every commercial break, he'd pause and record another 5 minutes of him making guesses. And I imagine that everyone here is feeling the exact same way as I felt watching his stream. Like, oh my goodness, you are so painfully wrong. Like, it's cute. It's cute, okay? You think you got all the pieces on the board and you're putting together. You're wrong. You're just wrong. So I hope it's entertaining for y'all to see me be so wrong because we're going to keep it going.
I think it's good that it keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
mark of a good series usually. It keeps you guessing.
Well, Jeff, do you have any final thoughts about this week's episode as we wrap it up here? And
Well,
I get my early bedtime like I thought I was going to get a couple hours ago.
well, we were talking about this episode on Discord about a week ago, and I said it's just kind of there. It's an episode that I kind of forget about, and it didn't impress me very much. But I've watched it twice today, and it's better than I remembered. It has some good lines. There was a line from Jakar. He says, "The universe runs on the complex interweaving of three elements: energy, matter, and enlightened self-interest." I thought that was a great line. There was sparkling dialogue throughout this, good interaction between characters. We get to know about Garibaldi some more, and we get more indication that things are not right with Earth Gov. So this was a good episode.
It was. It was fun, and I really enjoyed, like you said, each interaction we got.
Yeah.
It's just reaffirming who they know who he is. Like the writers so know who each of these characters are, and it's really fun to see how well established they are, how consistent the acting is.
J. Michael Straczynski, the show's creator, he actually wrote probably about 3/4 of the episodes, or maybe more. Now, he did not write this particular episode, though.
Okay.
But I believe he wrote every episode in season 4 and most of them in 3.
Okay.
So.
Well, awesome. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with Jeff and I again, and we will see you next week at the Hour of Scampering.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a good night.
That all. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.